Yeah, I would like to open with compliments to the Tournament of Roses committee. They did a tremendous job hosting us. It was a great event. It's my second time being involved in the Rose Bowl. They do just an impeccable job of treatment of our team and hosting us. Our transition has occurred kind of through the night. We were able to fly back last night after the game and took some time getting out of LAX and got back into Atlanta and got the buses back over to Athens and got a little nap in and then back to work today and beginning on what I know and respect is a really good football team in Alabama and looking forward to an opportunity to play for national championship in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. And I think it says a lot about our conference and the competitive nature of it for two teams to come together and to play that are from the same conference and have put themselves in a situation to do something really special. So our team's really excited. A very emotional game last night, which concerns me, and talked to the players immediately afterwards about not burning any more energy or emotion on that game and moving on. You know, and Alabama had a little more sound victory, so they probably didn't burn quite as much emotion, although I know it was emotional to beat a team that beat them last year. And the focus moving forward will be on preparing for Alabama and what's a great program Coach Saban's got.
Great, Coach. Thank you. Deidre, if you could now place media in the queue for questions.
At this time, if you would like to ask a question, simply press star, followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that is star, followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. And our first question comes from Daniel Uthman with the All-American.
Kirby, congratulations on your team's performance yesterday. I wondered about what you might recall from when you first went to work for Nick Saban and got that job all those years ago. Do you remember what was going through your mind at the time and how badly you wanted that job?
No, I really don't remember much about that. That's a long time ago. I don't even know whatever year it was. I went to LSU 04 maybe. I'm not really sure. I just remember the interview in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, and Coach Muschamp, a good friend of mine, Will, had connected us, and we met in the airport and visited, and I had a lot of respect for the program that Nick had put together at LSU. And I remember wanting the job, but I wanted the job because I was a GA. I didn't want the job because it was Nick Saban. I wanted the job because I didn't have a job, and it was my first, career SEC job. So it was a great opportunity for me.
Is there something about working on a staff under Coach Saban that is different than other coaching jobs in college football?
I don't know that there. I don't know that there is. I mean, I don't know. I haven't been on many more staffs. I've been on a couple other staffs. I've been on a FSU staff, a UGA staff, a Valdosta State staff, and I think all staffs got great continuity. At least the ones that won. You know, you like each other. Winning makes you happier. So I've been on some really pleasant staffs because I've been very fortunate to coach at places that have a chance to win. But I wouldn't say it was like any different than the other staffs I've been on.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Bill Bender with Sporting News.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. You obviously had a lot of success in state with this recruiting cycle, but I was wondering, what's the biggest difference you've noticed after this season with some of those recruits from out of state that are interested in Georgia?
Well, I think anytime you get to play on a national stage and get national exposure, it certainly helps. We've got a great brand. We got Atlanta, Georgia, which is 70 miles from our campus, and there's a lot of access to the Atlanta airport. So when you start talking about kids that want to play in the SEC, they want to play on the big stage, and they want to be able to get to and from home very easily, there's nowhere better to play than Georgia. So you're able to go to Philly and get a Mark Webb or a DeAndre Swift, or you're able to go get a Jacob Eason or whoever it might be because they want to play on the big stage, and they've got great transportation avenues, and it's a great education too. So we're able to attract some really good students.
Thank you, Coach.
Deirdre, this is Gina Leahy with the College Football Playoff. I've been disconnected, so we can just go in order of the queue as it is right now.
Okay, and our next question comes from Murray Poole with the Bulldog Illustrated.
Hey, Kirby. Last night you talked about the defense just didn't play well in the first half, and then you go into the second half of the two overtimes and hold their offense to actually 10 points. So stupid score, of course, came, Sony fumbled the ball. But did you change anything schematically, get more pressure on Mayfield, or just the guys themselves turned up their own intensity to have that good second half and overtime period?
I think it's a combination of what you just mentioned. We got more pressure. We called the game a little more aggressively. I thought the kids tackled a little better. We still didn't tackle real good in the second half, but it was better than we did in the first half. I really just think they settled down. It's hard to put a finger on why they weren't settled early. I know you could say, well, it was the Rose Bowl. Well, it was Baker Mayfield. Yeah, we knew all that. And our team, is got to play big in big moments and can't play what we call rat trap and have mental errors. And I thought in the first half, man, we had a lot of mental errors and just really not indicative of who we are defensively. And I thought they did a much better job of playing our style of defense. And it was not a lot of schematic changes as much as it was getting more comfortable with what Oklahoma was doing.
Okay, thank you.
And our next question comes from Michael Casagrande with Alabama.com.
Hey, Kirby. Just wondering, it's kind of a cutthroat work with college football and coaching. And is it difficult to maintain friendships with coaches you used to work with, like Nick Saban or anyone else?
No, I don't think. In coaching profession, I think that me personally, the way I was raised and been around coaching is we take care of each other. We take care of each other's kids. We hire them. Coach Saban's hired probably 15 to 20 different coaches' kids that have either worked for him or he knew. And I'm the same way now that I get my opportunity. So, if anything, we take care of our own. We take care of each other. When coach is out of a job, you try to help him get a job. When he's no longer working for you, you help him out every way you can. So the cutthroat part is more for media attention. Maybe you feel that way in recruiting, or you feel that way to beat somebody. Yeah, you want to win the game for your players and your program, but it's not personal for me and their staff. I have a lot of friends on their staff. I respect their staff, and it's not really cutthroat to me. The competitive nature is to go win, but outside of that, they're good people.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Collie Harvey with ESPN.
Hi, Coach. How you doing? I just want to ask you, you mentioned something there at the top about how concerned you are about the emotions of that game, not letting it bleed into this game. What does, I guess, make you feel that your team will be able to respond with the right emotions going into Monday's game?
Well, the best way to know is to look at the history of this group. They've overcome a lot of obstacles. They've had coaching change during their career. They've overcome that. They've embraced what we wanted to do. They've been through a lot of adversity last year, and a lot of this team did his plan this year, played last year. And then you look at this year. They've overcome losing a quarterback. They've overcome a lot of adversity, overcome a big loss on the road, and that's kind of who they are. So I know they'll handle it the right way. I just think the management of that is really critical. We're playing a road game in L.A. and then turning around the next week within 7 days. You think about that. Everybody talks about last year, but last year Clemson had 9 days. This is a 7-day, really 6-day now turnaround to play a national championship game coming off a game in L.A. I think when you have one that emotional and you play an extra, whatever it was, 2 periods of overtime, you got to be smart about your team and where they are.
Just to follow up real quick, how do you manage that in that regard with these 6 days now?
Well, you emphasize rest, recovery. You emphasize what we talk about all the time is getting your sleep, getting your dark hours, getting off your phone. A lot of our kids on social media, getting recovery, going to treatment, getting extra time to watch tape and spend it. We're starting school this week too, so that's another deal on top of our kids that they get to deal with. So when you start dealing with a lot of outside influences on your kids' time, you got to be smart as a coach and understand you got to get the most out of them, but we got to be smart with our practice time and our recovery time.
Thanks so much, Coach.
And our next question comes from Donald Hunt with the Philadelphia Tribune.
Yes, Coach, how you doing? This is Donald Hunt from Tribune, and just like to have you talk a little bit about DeAndre Swift from St. Joe's Prep, who has been able to get on the field and do some things for you this year.
Yeah, what an unbelievable kid. First of all, he is from a wonderful family. And their family is unbelievable. Great two parents that have really raised him the right way. He's a very humble kid. He's come in and embraced the role of being on special teams, of being a utility back that's done a lot of different things. He's really bright. He's probably got the best hands on the team, and you combine that with a really great low center of gravity, and you got yourself a good ball player. And he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, in my opinion, in the SEC for a long time, because he's such a competitive kid, and he's done really well in school as well. So we're proud of him, and think that, coming from where he came from, that school system up there did a great job with him, one of the most prestigious schools there is in the country.
Yeah, now just a quick follow-up. You mentioned Mark Webb, and talk a little bit about him, because he was a great player coming out of Archbishop Wood here in Philly.
Yeah, Mark was probably one of the most talented guys we signed in this class early on. He was making some plays at wide out early in camp, and we lost 2 corners to injury, and we really had to move him over to corner, and he's done a great job there. He hasn't got to play as much as I know he would like to, but he's going to be a really good football player. We're excited about him. He's playing on special teams. He's tough. He's competitive, good tackler. So we're excited about where he's at.
Okay, thanks a lot, Coach. Really appreciate it.
And our next question comes from Jason Butt with Macon Telegraph.
Hey, Kirby. I was just wondering, with your guys having to spend a whole week out on West Coast time, just what do you do as a coach to get them adjusted and reacclimated to being 3 hours ahead on the on the time scale?
Well, there's no real good way to do it. I mean, we encouraged them while they were out there to kind of try to stay around Central Time if they could, because go to bed a little bit earlier, get up a little bit earlier so that the transition coming back wouldn't be real bad. And, of course, a lot of our guys were getting tired early in the night, so they wanted to go to bed earlier, and their bodies were naturally getting up earlier. So if you just let that flow happen and you remain a little bit neutral, it's not as big a transition when you get back. So we're hoping today they get some rest and recovery. A lot of emotion spent last night, and you have a lot of adrenaline after a game like that. So it's not easy to go straight to bed. It's not as easy to say, hey, sleep it off on the plane. So we're trying to get them plenty of rest today and allow us to do some game planning, and then get them back, and we'll go back to work tomorrow to get ready for a big game.
And a couple of housekeeping items. What's Charlie Warner's status with the leg injury? And can you confirm Dan Lanning hired as outside linebackers after the playoff is over?
Yeah, on Charlie Warner, still not sure the verdict on it yet. It is a lower leg, but we don't know the extent of anything more than that right now. And then I can confirm the hiring of Dan Lanning. He'll be replacing Kevin Shears, one of our assistant coaches, after the bowl game or the national championship game.
Thanks.
And our next question comes from Kirk Bowles with the Austin American-Statesman.
Kirby, I wonder if you'd address the perception the SEC was down this year. Do you agree with that, or maybe it was just a really top-heavy conference?
Yeah, I don't like getting into that subject. I think it's a matter of opinion. I'm not the expert at that because I don't watch all the other conferences. I had the fortune of watching Big 12 conference because I had to go through all the Oklahoma film and prepare for that. But how can I be an expert on the conferences that I don't watch play? I will speak on the behalf of the SEC that I think that it's extremely difficult week in, week out, because you've got really good teams, and everybody points to the fact that they beat up on each other, and there's more parity, outside of what Alabama's been able to do. There's been more parity in our conference in recent years. I put our conference up against anybody's, and I'm not doing that braggingly. I just believe in that. I believe that there's good coaches in this league. I believe there's really good programs in this league, and it's not to knock another league. I just think top to bottom, it's one of the toughest conferences to live and survive in and week out. But that's just a matter of opinion.
And as far as coaching with Nick Saban for as many years as you did, you have to know his tendencies and strategies probably as well as anybody that goes up against him. Where would that maybe be an advantage for you, either in preparation or during the game on Monday?
Yeah, I don't know that that's an advantage. You know, his tendencies and his strengths are recruiting really good players that are really big and really fast, and then you have to block them, okay? And you have to be able to run the ball against them, or you have to be able to defend the wideouts in the quarterback. I mean, it comes down to a lot more than his tendencies, because his tendencies are very similar to a lot of good coaches. Smart, good decisions, protect the ball, play great defense, kick your butt on special teams. I mean, there's not a lot of tendencies that he has that are just going to be groundbreaking to allow us a benefit. The bottom line is our players got to go out and we got to play a really good football game to stay with these guys.
And the last question, Nick told us earlier this afternoon that he wouldn't necessarily want 2 weeks between semifinals and finals, but given the travel, especially in y'all's term, maybe an extra day might be in order. How do you see that going forward? Is 6 days or 7 days just too little?
Yeah, you know, it's probably a moot point now, but I do think that you deal with the hand you're dealt, and I think that in the future it would be advantageous or it'd be smart to at least look into. Because I think last year was more realistic. You know, the 9 days that I was told they had between games, that makes sense. You're dealing with travel from all over. It's a little different. You know, I don't know the reasons for why it ended up like it did this year, but we've known that all along. So, you know, it hurt as much the preparation for Oklahoma as it did this game, because we had to be prepared for the turnaround. You know, we were planning things out for this week, even last week, which is tough, really tough mentally on a coach, because you never want to look past anybody. But we had no choice but to do that, or it makes it really tough. And I know it's probably a little easier on the other two being in New Orleans, but it's tough on anybody. It's tough on these players, you know. And you add in the fact that we start school earlier than anybody in the country this week, and a lot of those other schools are not going back to school, so they'll be, you know, they won't have classes. They'll be able to have the kids over there all day, and we got kids taking classes.
And we have time for 2 more questions for Coach.
And our next question comes from Chip Towers with AJC.
Hey, Kirby. Just wondering if you can speak to kind of the dynamic you have with Kevin Shearer still on your staff and Jeremy Pruitt still on their staff. Obviously, those two guys know each other, and they're trying to kind of manage, I guess, 2 jobs to some extent, or are they not trying to do anything with that other job? You obviously went through that yourself. Can you talk about how that dynamic figures in this game?
Chip, I'm not following you. Are you asking, are they working for Tennessee right now, or how are they doing what they're doing? I don't understand what you're asking.
How do they handle that? And obviously, I guess those guys have a good relationship too. You probably can speak to that as well.
Yeah, I got a good relationship with Jeremy. I got a good relationship with Kevin. They got a good relationship with each other. Kevin's got a good relationship with Nick. I mean, there's a lot of relationships across the board. I mean, I really don't know what you're hitting at. I mean, I know that Kevin wants to win this game for University of Georgia, and Kevin wants to finish something he was a part of, and I think it speaks to his brand the rest of his career if he's able to win a national championship here. And certainly think Lorenzo Carter, Davin Bellamy, all the kids he's coached for the last 4 years, I guess it's been, and he wants to do well for those guys. And I'm sure Jeremy's the same way for the players that he recruited to Alabama. So, I mean, I think both parties are working independent of each other, knowing that on the recruiting side of things, they're working together. And there's not a whole lot of recruiting going on right now with the dead period, but I mean, I went through that. I think you got to separate what you're doing. When you're working for the game, you're working for the game. You're working for recruiting, you're working for Tennessee. And if you're professional about your job, that's not really a problem.
You hit it just right. Thanks, Kirby.
Yep.
And our next question comes from Charles Odom with the Associated Press.
you spoke of the emotional drain for your players, and I'm just wondering, there's been a season's worth of bucket list items this year, from Notre Dame to Rose Bowl, winning the SEC championship. How is your emotional tank these days?
Oh, I'm good. I was ready to get out of there as soon as the game was over. I mean, I was running across the field as fast as I could to shake his hand so I could leave, because I'm ready to get back. So, I mean, I'm excited about the opportunity. You know, you can coach a long time and not get opportunities like this. And I've been blessed to be part of games of this magnitude and nature before. Obviously never as a head coach, but I know that every minute and every second counts, and that's what's important to me. And I want to make sure these players understand that, because a lot of them don't. They don't understand that, 20 minutes with the media, 45 minutes waiting on a bus, or 2 hours waiting in traffic. Those all add up when you start adding them, and that's what's important to me, is to lead these young men in the right direction so they have the best opportunity at success that they can have.
Thanks.
Yep.
Coach, we really appreciate your time tonight and look forward to seeing you soon in Atlanta.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
All right, we will pause for a moment and wait for the Georgia student-athletes to join the line. As a reminder for those on the call, transcripts from both Coach Smart and our student-athletes will be available shortly on collegepressbox.com. Again, we will pause for a moment and wait for Sony and Roquan to join us this evening. All right, at this time, we would like to welcome the University of Georgia student-athletes Sony Michel and Roquan Smith. Guys, thank you so much for taking time this evening. We're going to go ahead and open it up right for questions. So, Deidre, if you could please start the queue.
At this time, if you would like to ask a question, simply press star, followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that is star, followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. And our first question comes from Daniel Uthman with the All-American.
Roquan, how's it going? I wanted to ask you about your feelings about Jake Fromm when he first came into the program. It seems like he's kind of a galvanizing guy that people sort of are drawn to and got early respect. But I just wanted to get your take on Jake in that way.
Yeah, I think he's a phenomenal guy, first-class guy. When he first got here, prior to him even being the starter, the way he carried himself, like he was a senior or something like that. So it was pretty good, and like just seeing what the guy's done is like, it hadn't surprised me one bit.
And our next question comes from Kirk Bowles with the Austin American-Statesman.
Roquan, I'm sure you didn't get to see the Alabama game last night, but I'm sure you've heard about how they dominated that game. Do you see Alabama maybe as an underdog, since they were kind of the last team to get in this 4-team playoff and obviously took it out on Clemson?
No, I don't see them as an underdog. I see them as a team there in the SEC. So, like, in the SEC, any team can win on any given Saturday or whatever the day the game is. So, no, I don't look at them as an underdog.
How do you see Alabama?
Great football team.
Mm-hmm.
And our next question comes from Alex Byington with the Decatur Daily.
For both players, a lot has been made about Nick and Kirby's relationship, and Nick said earlier, these games aren't about the coaches, but for players, do y'all kind of buy into any of the talk that it's master versus pupil kind of thing, or just kind of seeing how the two coaches prepare for this game?
This is Sony, and I believe it's more for Coach Smart and the Georgia football team as a whole, especially for all-around players and coaches, because we all work hard for the same goal in the off season and throughout the season. So, in my opinion, I think it's special for the coaches and the players of the University of Georgia.
And my take, just piggybacking off what he said, I think it's very special for the university, the players, the coaches, because everyone put in a lot of work throughout the year, and just say one particular group is excited or happy or something like that, I think that'll be shortened. So I definitely think it's a lot of excitement, and it's for more than the players and the coaches and the fan base and everyone else associated.
Thank you, guys.
And our next question comes from Mark Weissler with the Athens Banner-Herald.
Hey, guys, I want to ask you about kind of the emotions that you had last night in the game and flying back to the other side of the country. What was today like, and is it going to be tough to, kind of, I guess, have the right mindset? How much energy was spent, and how do you have to watch yourself? Do you prepare for this week?
We were very excited. I'm sure there's still a lot of excitement around this program in the building, but, we won games around here, so we know how to handle situations like this. We know our task at hand. We just got to move forward. We got a good opponent we about to face, so I'm sure this team, this coaching staff know what we got to focus on from here on.
I would say the same thing. There's a lot of excitement, winning the Rose Bowl and whatnot, but the focus has to shift back to the bigger picture, and that's the national championship game. So I think everyone knows, and I think everyone knows that they have to shift their focus back.
Thanks.
And again, if you would like to ask a question, simply press star followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that is star followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. And our next question comes from John Zinner with AP.
Yeah, I actually had one for each of you. Roquan, I'm wondering, I don't know how much chance you've had to see Jalen Hurts, but what kind of stands out to you about him, because he can make plays both ways?
Definitely. I haven't seen too much, but more so I was going to hone in on that today. But from just seeing games and whatnot, I think he's a heck of an athlete. Can beat you on the ground. He has a pretty solid arm as well to give his receivers a chance to make a play on the ball in the air as well.
Okay, and if I could, Sony, I had one for you also. I don't know how much. What have you seen from Alabama's run defense? Because that's obviously something over the years that they've prided themselves on a lot, and they did a pretty good job last night against Clemson's running game.
Yes, that's what Alabama's known for, having good run defense, just an overall good defense. And I'm excited for the challenge. I'm sure this offense is, this team is, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks.
And we have time for a couple more questions.
And our next question comes from Chip Towers with the AJC.
Yeah, guys, talking about the emotion of that win and the logistics of getting back from California and back over, are you guys in any way, wiped out because of the emotional energy expended and all that? And do you think there's any way that you won't be at, 100% ready to go by the time you got to play that game on Monday?
Well, Chip, that game happened. There was a lot of excitement around and whatnot, but we just have to shift our focus back, because we have to. The main thing is winning the national championship, and we know that if we're not honed in and doing everything we can in our power to, prepare ourselves for that game, then we know we'll be shorting ourselves. But I definitely don't think. I think we'll definitely be 100% though, for sure.
Sony?
Just to piggyback off of that, the Rose Bowl, there was a lot of excitement, but our ultimate goal was to get to the national championship, and I think that's everybody's focus. Everybody shift their focus onto that game, and I think everybody prepared and ready to move on. I don't think any more energy was wasted on celebration. I think we celebrated enough, and we're kind of getting ready to move on to our next opponent.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Murray Poole with the Bulldog Illustrated.
Yeah, congratulations, guys, on the game last night. For Roquan, I'd like to ask, talking to Coach Kirby earlier in last night, he said that you just didn't play Georgia defense in the first half, good as the Sooners were, but look at something really changed the second half when you held their offense actually to 10 points, and in the overtimes. Was it a case of any kind of schemes changing, or you guys just try to dial up the pressure and play with more intensity? And then for Sony, I'd like to ask the 75-yard run last night, Sony. It looked very similar to the 77-yard run you had against Florida this year. Was it the same type play, or just a case of the offensive line really opening that hole real quick?
Tony, and different type of play, but we're a downhill team, so we run the ball. We got plenty of plays running downhill, and our offensive line did a tremendous job blocking. Receiver did a tremendous job blocking downfield, and I think those guys just gave a lot of effort yesterday with their blocking, which made it so much easier for me to make that 75-yard run happen.
This is Roquan. I would say we definitely had to make some halftime adjustments and whatnot, but we knew going into the game that was going to create some challenges for us on defense, and a lot of things we were just missing assignments in the first half, and it was just taking advantage of it. And we know we can't afford to do that when facing a team like that. And then in the second half, we just had to come in. It wasn't more so changing the scheme or anything. It was just more so doing our scheme to the best of our ability. And once we did that, we figured out that we can actually stop those guys on offense, which we knew all along, but we didn't show that in the first half.
Okay, thank you.
And our last question comes from Christopher Walsh with the SEC Country.
Thank you. I don't know how much you guys can really talk about this yet, but, with all the ties between the schools and everything, is it almost like playing a team that's a mirror image of yourself?
As far as comparisons, I would just say, we play hard-nosed football.
I would say the same thing. Just two physical football teams. I wouldn't say we're, we both do what we do different and whatnot, and we're just not the same. But I would say we both are very, very physical football team, and both protect the ball on the offensive side of the ball and play stingy defense.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Sony and Roquan, thank you so much for your time again this evening. Congratulations, and we will see you soon in Atlanta.
Thank you.
That concludes both of our teleconferences this evening. Again, for those media members on the call, transcripts will be available shortly on collegepressbox.com. Thank you.